What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you some Battlefield 3 gameplay, and like the past few Battlefield 4 discussion videos, the background footage really not the main purpose of this video. The main purpose is to discuss yet another article that was released by DICE on the Battlefield blog, and that is the latest in their Road to Battlefield 4 series, and that is the Every Game Mode Revealed. Not the most creative title, but it's straightforward, and yeah, it talks about all the game modes. Of course, you know, these are mostly going to be returning game modes that were in Battlefield, well, a lot of previous Battlefield titles, including Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. And we do get to see the two new game modes, one of which we've already seen footage of, but we also get some details on the other new game mode, and it'll be a very interesting one. So let's get straight into it, and of course I will have a link below in the video description if you would like to read the article and check it out yourself, but if you do not have the time, then let's get straight into the article. First one that it talks about is the Conquest. And it does have a little annotation added in saying, stating that it is playable in the Battlefield 4 beta. Pretty much already knew that, so that's kind of cool. And then for each of these, they've got a little breakdown of the combat type, the player count it's designed for, and then it's got commander mode, whether it is optional or not optional. So it is good to see. I know a lot of people had you know, some questions about whether they could have commander mode as an option rather than being forced in these game modes. So that's kind of pretty much right there a confirmation that you do not have to always have commander mode in some of the game modes that have it available. And one of these that it is optional in caught me by surprise, and that'll actually be the last one that we go over. So that we'll get to that here in a bit. And they just kind of give a little description about it, you know, like the goal of the game mode and things like that. So with this being Conquest, we already know that, but let's see. Combat type, the definitive battlefield mode, all-out vehicle warfare mixed with intense infantry action across land, air, and sea. Of course, designed for 24 players for the current gen consoles, 64 players for next gen consoles and PC. And commander mode is, of course, optional. And then we'll go down to the next game mode, which is the Domination game mode. And it also is playable in the Battlefield 4 beta. That is pretty cool. Didn't know that we would have this one in the beta. And so it'll be interesting to see Siege of Shanghai, how the map gets laid out differently between the Conquest and then the Domination. But it's also very cool that these Domination maps are going to be in, this Domination mode is going to be in all of the maps. That's very cool. Obviously in Battlefield 3 it was only 4 of the maps, so very excited to see Domination being available throughout all of the maps. Very cool to see that. And combat type, fast-paced infantry variant of Conquest. So, you know, those nights that you just get destroyed by vehicle after vehicle after vehicle, you know, let off some steam and some vehicle-less infantry-focused gameplay. Designed for 20 players on all platforms, so that's pretty darn cool. Obviously, you know, you can make more or less based on server settings. This is just, of course, designed for. And then commander mode is a no. That was kind of a bummer. I thought that we would at least see a commander that would, you know, tell the teams where to go and things like that. Obviously, you're not having Tomahawk missiles being called in and vehicle drops and things like that, but that would have been cool if there was a kind of Domination-specific commander mode, but it's just a straight-up no. And there's a description of it, but we already know how Domination works. You know, it's you know, Conquest mode, but capture points are, you know, they cap a lot faster, and there are no vehicles, and the maps are scaled down sections. So then they go into the Obliteration game mode. This was the new one that was announced and shown off at Gamescom and all sorts of other conventions. And the game type is a mad dash in vehicles and on foot to deliver explosives. Designed for 24 players on current gen consoles and 32 for next gen consoles and PC. Obviously, that could be 64, based easily off of the server settings. But I'm glad that they said it was 32, because my fears of this game mode is that, like how it is with CTF, is that the player count, when it gets above that 32, 42 kind of point, that it just gets too chaotic for the people that are trying to play the objective, especially when you have the objective that you're constantly tagged and show up on the map. for enemies and friendlies. 32 seems like it'll be pretty balanced, but of course people are just going to break that and go straight to 64. So commander mode is optional, and not really going to read we've seen the gameplay for this, but it's just interesting that they call their very first sentences, we call this the Battlefield Moments Generator, which is an interesting way to put it. It is going to be a very action-focused game mode, even in 32 players. So very excited to get down on some of this, and hopefully it will not end up how my luck has been with CTF. And then moving on to the next section, which is the other new game mode that is being introduced, and I am very excited about this one. This is called Diffuse. Combat type, competitive close quarters combat. And I think that word in there, competitive, is very key. I think that this is going to be, when you see all the MLG things and have league plays and tournaments and things like that, I feel that this one is going to be the one that is used, and we'll get into that here in a bit. Designed for 5 versus 5 players on all platforms, so that's very cool. And then commander mode, no. Kind of saw that coming, with it only being 5v5. Now this one I will actually read the description for, and I'll go pretty quick. The other new game mode making its debut in Battlefield 4, Diffuse, is a highly competitive and lethal, I guess they meant to say one. Each player is given a single life per round, and we'll get to that later. Every shot fired having the potential to drastically change the outcome. Teams can win by eliminating the enemy squad or arming and detonating a military objective that they own, parentheses, similar to the MCOM stations in rush mode, in parentheses. Next paragraph. Built from the ground up and designed to cater to the most competitive Battlefield players, Diffuse provides a distinctly new flavor to Battlefield that sends a stark contrast to other modes like Rush and Conquest. Each player can only be revived once per round, and players who have been eliminated will be following the rest of the showdown from the sidelines. So two very key things in both those paragraphs. Obviously, single life per round. Once you die and die, you're done. You're now a spectator. And then, in that second paragraph, the fact that you can only be revived once per round. So you can no longer have just a whole team of assault players. It really would make sense to have maybe 1 or 2 assault players and to actually have that support player and that recon player. And I guess an engineer I don't think engineers are going to be needed too much in this game mode. So that will be nice, because any competitive game mode, I've watched plenty of YouTube videos of these competitive matches, and I've competed in a lot of competitive matches, and it's always the, medic, because you want to be able to revive your players. If they die, you could you revive them, and it doesn't matter if they're out of their primary. They can keep using their secondary weapon until that's empty, and, you don't need support players because you could just pick up a guy's kit that you kill and take their ammo. So this is very nice to see that this better not be a server managed. This better be just a straight up 100%. This can never be changed. Always 1 life per round, 1 revive per round, and that will keep things very interesting. And I am very excited to see this game mode for the competitive style. I love Squad Rush. Sadly, Squad Rush is not going to be returning, but this is pretty much like that. You're only going to be killing 1 objective. So this is pretty much, Counter-Strike type of game mode where you got the, one life, and you got to get that objective taken out. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the whole time of how it takes to arm it and disarm and things like that. So very excited to actually get my hands on this mode. Sadly, it is not going to be available in the beta, nor is Obliteration. Neither of those had distinctions that they would be in the beta. Moving on, Team Deathmatch. Combat type, the classic shooter mode, Battlefield 4 style, designed for 20 players on all platforms. Of course, that can be changed. Commander mode, no, and really no need to read that because it's TDM. You should expect TDM. Next is Rush. Rush will be returning, and the combat type, fight deep into enemy territory by detonating their MCOM stations, designed for 24 players on current gen, 32 players on next gen console and PC. Of course, that can be made to be 64. Commander mode is optional, so that's nice to see that Commander mode will be on Rush. Rush really, it definitely offers different gameplay style from Conquest. But it's on a lot tighter scale. So because of that tighter, smaller scale, I'm glad to see that they still are allowing the commander mode to be existing there. And I'm also interested still to see how the commander abilities will be available for Rush, seeing as how Conquest, the different points that you capture affect what is available to your commander, and also the Levolution. As in Paracel Storm, we saw that vehicle, the carrier crashes into the island, and you get access to that automated anti-air. How's that going to work for Rush? Because eventually you're going to move past that. So that it'll be interesting to see how the Levolution commander abilities and commander abilities in general will work for Rush. And then finally, Squad Deathmatch. This is going to be making a return. Combat type, 4 squads fight on the ground with limited vehicle support and a race to the top of the leaderboard. So I'm a little sad to see that vehicle are going to be returning for Squad Deathmatch. That always pretty much sucked because nobody played as engineer until someone gets in that vehicle, and then everybody has to switch to engineer to do that. And so I liked servers that just kind of kicked players for using the vehicles and just kept squad deathmatch as just 4 squads of infantry fighting each other, because that one vehicle always was just throwing a wrench into having a nice balanced fight. It definitely added a nice little twist to the game, but sometimes I just wanted that infantry only. And then it says designed for 16 players, all platforms. In Battlefield 3, it kind of got broke, and you would have 64-player servers for Squad Deathmatch. So you had squads that had immense amounts of people in the squad. Hopefully that will be fixed, and they will be much more stringent on the how many players you can have on a server for that. Commander mode optional. That really caught me off guard. I don't know how commander. Are you going to have 4 different commanders for the 4 different squads? That just seems really, really weird to have that available. I don't know if that's a misprint. There's nothing in the actual description that comments on how commanders will play a role in Squad Deathmatch. Why would they have it in Squad Deathmatch rather than Team Deathmatch, where you've got more than 16 players and there's just simply 2 teams, like every other game mode where you have the 2 different commanders? So that might be a misprint. I don't know. If it isn't, then that's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. What do you think of the new game mode that we've just discovered, the one titled Diffuse? I think it'll be very interesting for competitive. Still sad to see Squad Rush not making a return, but I think that the 5v5 Diffuse mode will hold up and carry its own weight in terms of the competitive market. Hope you guys have enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background. Have a good one. Ta-ta.